All right. Hi there. My name is Mitch, and welcome to the Purpose and Direction course. Who am I? Why should you be listening to me? Like I said, my name's Mitch. I used to be a life coach. I don't do it anymore, but life coaching was something that I did for a few years, and I was really specifically interested in purpose and direction, helping people find what they wanted to do for their work, what did they want to study, what did they want to do with their lives, essentially. And so the reason I was so passionate about that was similar to Dylan. We actually grew up together because our dads were friends because they both played AFL football. So growing up for both of us, that gave us a lot of pressure and expectation on us. And I know for me, it meant that when I was in high school, I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about who I was or what I wanted to do with myself, because it was always like this predetermined idea that I had to go and play football. Like that was what I had to do. It was what people I thought wanted for me. And so I never really thought about what I truly want. And so when I ended up finishing high school and not ending up playing football, I hadn't spent any time really thinking about who I was or what I wanted for myself. And so um, I became really passionate about how do I actually make these decisions? How do I figure out what's right for me, what path to go on, what's going to be a fulfilling life? And so I ended up doing coaching in that for a few years. And it's actually relevant to this course, is that I ended up figuring out it actually wasn't right for me because I'm a very big people person. So sort of creativity and my people skills are two of my highest strengths. And I actually love being around people every day. I love being in a place where I can see people and interact with people all day. Where when I was working as a coach, I was working in isolation in my room a lot, and it didn't actually feel like it worked out for me. So all that stuff is going to be relevant to how we go. So I'm going to minimize myself so you don't have to look at my big ugly face for the whole time. Chuck me up here. So the first thing we're going to look at is, what is purpose? You might want to pause here and just like think about this question for a second. What is purpose? You've probably heard that word thrown around at times in the TV, online, maybe in books. It's a really big word, and people often use it in the sense of, what is your purpose? What is it's often interpreted as like, what is the one thing that you were put here on this earth to do? What is the one job or the one mission that you were put on? And I think that creates a lot of pressure, and it's actually not very helpful. Okay, because I think that, like I said, my strengths are people skills and creativity. There's a million different ways I could find careers that are fulfilling to me and that I would love, that use those two things, and that I would feel like I'm doing good work and I'm enjoying my life and like I'm making a difference. And so I don't think that there is just one purpose for everyone. I think that you are unique and you have strengths, talents, abilities, experiences, all these different things that make you the person that you are. And having a sense of purpose is being able to do what feels right to you. So I think that purpose is actually a feeling. It's a feeling that what you do matters. It's a feeling that you're useful. It's a feeling like you're on the right path, and that you're using the best of what you have to give. You're using your talents and abilities to do something good in the world. And there's so many ways you could do that. Okay. So firstly, before we go in, I just want to, if you are one of those people feeling like you need to find your one purpose, I want you to take a little bit of pressure off yourself. Okay. There's so many different ways that you could have an amazing, fulfilling life. And it's just about navigating your way to being able to find that for yourself. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to navigate using a compass. Obviously, how do you navigate? You use a compass. So a compass is something, for all you young kids that have maybe never held a compass, it's something that points to north, okay? And so if you know north, you can know to navigate wherever you want. We're going to sort of, over the next few sessions, create a compass that is made up of things that make you you, all right? So things like today, we're going to be looking at your strengths. We're going to be looking at your passions, and we're going to use these things to create. I would love you for, over the next few sessions, you create a document and sort of document these major headings and start to, build a bit of a self-awareness compass for yourself. But this is something that, yeah, I want you to actually do that, to write this down somewhere, to actually create this compass, because it's something that if you add to it over multiple years, like I've done this for over 5 years now, where I've just constantly been documenting things about myself. When I notice something about my values, when I notice something about my strengths, when I notice something about what I'm passionate about, I'm putting those all in one place. And so then when I have big decisions that I've got to make, you can never make a perfect decision, okay? But if you're starting from scratch and you really just don't know anything about yourself, and you're like, oh, what uni subject do I want to do? What job do I want to do? If you're just doing that and you have no real sense of who you are, then those are really big, hard decisions. But if you have this like document that you've been creating, this compass, where you've got all the things that are important to you, you've got your self-awareness of what your strengths are, what you like to do, what's fulfilling to you, what you would love to achieve in the world, then suddenly these big decisions about the paths that you're going to take become a little bit easier. Okay, so that's my invitation to you. You don't have to do it, but I would love for you to start documenting the major headings of what we're going to go over the next few sessions. And then whenever you notice something in your life that you're like, oh, that was something that was a strength of mine, everyone really commented that I was really good at that, go back to your compass sort of place that you're writing these things down and add to it. And over the next few years, you'll become really, really confident in who you are. So the compass, I'm going to put me over there. Sorry, Dylan's logo. So the three things that we're going to build our compass out of is firstly genius, that's today. Then we're going to look at values. So genius is sort of like, what are the things that you're amazing at, that come super easily to you, that you're just really, really good at these things. And often when we're in our genius zone, we feel really confident, we are really good at the things we're doing, so we have a higher potential to be able to actually get better and do more things and help more people. And it's just really enjoyable for us to be in that space where we're feeling confident and we're doing things we're good at. Often people enjoy being in that space of doing things they're good at. Next, we're looking at values. So then values is about what is actually important to me. Okay, because that's going to help us decide, well, if I'm a person that prioritizes these things and thinks these are important, then that's going to help us decide the best route for us to take in our life. And then finally, we're going to look at mission. So sort of what you want to achieve, where you're going, and all these things add up to making your compass. And when you actually document these things down, like I said, it's going to be easier to make those decisions as they come up. Sorry about my notifications. Let me turn that off. All right, let's jump in. So today's topic, we have got strengths, passions, and skills. So genius is made up of strengths, passions, and skills. Those are the three things that make up your genius zone. So, okay, I've skipped a slide. So quickly before we go into the genius zone, I've got a quick little quote here from a guy called Bill George, which wrote this book around True North, which is a really great book about self-awareness. And he says, anyone who follows their internal compass can become an authentic leader. So an authentic leader is just someone that is being themselves and doing things that they think are important, going about their own path, and often, leading people and doing good things. And the important thing here is having an internal compass, having a sense of knowing who you are and knowing how to orientate yourself and make those decisions in the best way will turn you into someone that becomes that authentic leader, someone that is truly themselves and doing things that they want to do in the world. So, like I said, this is your genius zone. So firstly, we're going to look at strengths. And strengths is sort of like the most ingrained, the most internal thing of these three. So they go strengths, passions, and skills, as strengths are really, you're not completely born with them, but everyone has a proclivity when we are born. Okay. So everyone has certain things that they are just more, they lean towards some things more. So someone can start maths at 5 years old or 3 years old or whatever time we start maths, and without ever having done it, they could just be slightly better at it. It just sort of works with their brain a little bit more than someone else who might really love artistic creations, or someone that really loves reading and literature and all that stuff. So we all have strengths and things that we, are just naturally find quite easily. And knowing those things is going to be really valuable to you figuring out the types of activities that you're going to learn really quickly and often enjoy a lot more. So those things, now you can definitely build strengths, okay? I'm not trying to say you're just fixed and you're stuck as you are, but strengths is a bit more of like, that's just naturally how you are. Then we go into passions. So passions is a bit more like you're often passionate about things that it's from life experience. You might have something, some of those are internal, you just like love these things, but then also there's this side of passions that is directly in relation to the life experiences that you have. So we'll go into that in a second. There's these two sides we call push and pull passions. And then finally is skills. So this is obviously the most external thing. Skills are things that you have literally learned how to do these things. You weren't born with skills necessarily, except for maybe how to breathe. But skills are the things that you learn in your life, and they're like the door, the key to the door. So it doesn't matter how passionate you are and how many strengths you have in certain things. If you don't have the skills to be able to do things, you're never going to be able to do it. If you want to be a doctor and you think you have strengths of really detail oriented and great problem solving and whatever strengths would be great for being a doctor, and you think you're really passionate about helping people in medicine and all that stuff, if you don't have a medical degree, like you're not going to be a doctor unless you're, doing things you shouldn't be. So skills are that external thing, which is you have to put in the work or to really build the skills to allow you to do more things. But when you're making decisions in your life, this compass helps us decide, if you're making a career decision and you don't have the skills, you might be like, okay, I can't do this thing because I don't have the skills to be able to do it. Or you might just have to say, okay, let's learn the skills to be able to do it. All right. So these are the three things that make up your zone of genius. So we're going to start by looking at strengths, like I said. Now, this might be something familiar to you, depending on how far you are into Dylan's course. Now, he allocated four types of birds to these different types of personality, okay? So there's the cool blue owl, showing no bias, objective, detached, the earth green dove. I won't read them all out for you, but these are four different types of personalities, okay? And understanding the type of personality that you have is really important to understanding the types of things you're going to enjoy. So for instance, I am a yellow. I am such a yellow. I've done this test. There's another test that isn't around birds, but that's what this is based off. And I am like 100% yellow, maybe like 50%, 60% green. I think like 0% blue, maybe. Like I'm like really low blue. And then my red is maybe 30, 40%. So I'm a thoroughbred yellow. So knowing that about myself, knowing that I'm generally cheerful, uplifting, I'm really outgoing and love to talk to people, knowing that about myself is a great help for me to decide what types of career paths I'm going to enjoy. All right. If I'm doing something that requires me to just be behind a computer all day and never talk to anyone and just be in my little space and be very detail oriented, I'm not going to really enjoy that much, because that's not the type of personality that I have. I prefer being around people, talking to people, having interactions, having a laugh, creating a good vibe. It's partly, like I mentioned at the start of this thing, why, I used to be a coach, but I moved away from it. And so this is why purpose isn't fixed, but it's all about learning about yourself and making the best decisions over the time. So I want you to actually stop and just try to fit yourself into one of these categories if you can. I'm not sure if Dylan has a test for these in his course. So maybe get up to this in the course. And then once you've actually determined which one you are, I think he does have a test actually, then you can write that down. So this is under your strengths category. Figure out which type of bird you are. All right. So that's sort of personality. And now we're going to look at, can we get these things out of the way? Sweet. So now we're looking at strengths. This is a list of strengths called VIA character strengths. And I want you to try and find your top 5 strengths, okay? So just pause the video now, and I want you to scan through these and just try to figure out which of these sounds like it could be one of your top strengths? So a little hint to this is that every single person has every single one of these strengths. Okay. So I don't want you sitting there thinking, I don't have any of that. You literally do. It's science, but you're going to have them ranked in different orders. So creativity for me is going to be really high, but what's one that's, perseverance is often really low for me. Self-regulation is really low for me. Leadership is high. Curiosity is high. So I have a really good awareness of where my strengths lie amongst all of these things. Okay. So I want you to just pause this and try to find which ones sound like your top strengths. A few that you might not know as much. Zest is sort of like how excited you get. It's a bit of like having a good vibe, or having a lust for life, I guess. What else is a bit hard? Social intelligence is obviously understanding other people and understanding maybe body language or the things that they're saying and how to maybe being able to tap into what they're thinking. So that's one that's quite high for me. So hopefully you've paused it now and been able to find your top 5 strengths. Awesome. So those 2 things, your personality and your strengths, those are really great for you to know. Okay. I use this example of if you went home and you had a report card and you had maths was A, English was B, French was a D. I'm literally describing my report card. Languages were so bad for me. And science was a B, let's say. So you got those 4 marks and you went home to your parents and they were like, congratulations on all the really good things. So what are you going to put work into now? They ask you this question. Your parents ask you, so what are you, based on your results, what are you going to put work into? And most people, particularly high school students, would answer that, oh, I'm going to put my work into French because French I only got a D on. And I've got to bring that up so that that can be a B or an A, and then I'll maintain all my others at Bs and As. That's how high school works. And that's why high school is not that great, because all of us have natural abilities and things we're really good at. And like I said, you can get better at things. You can make things into strengths if you really try. But in the real world, the things that you are really good at, the maths and the English that you got A's in already, those are the things that you should really be putting your time in. Because if you can get an A without trying that hard, imagine if you could put in work, you could be even way better. Okay. So the people that do amazing things in the world, or the people that do jobs that they become really good at, they're often not just like good at everything. Okay. Your goal is not to become an all-rounder guy that can sort of just like achieve 60% in everything you do. Okay. If you can't do a bunch of things, like there's things that I absolutely suck at, and I don't care that I suck at them because I'm really good at some other things. Okay. So now that you know your top 5 strengths, and this is just your first little taste of it, it's not perfect right now, but these are things that if you put work into them, you can become even better. Okay, you can move and create a lot more momentum and do great things if you invest in your strengths. Okay, and the only thing I would say about your weaknesses, like for instance, if self-regulation, that's like a weakness of mine. So for instance, I can sit and play video games for like 10 hours. I can easily do that. And I'm sure some of you can as well. So the only time I need to really invest in my weaknesses is when my weaknesses get in the way of me actually doing things with my strengths. So if my self-regulation is so bad that it means that I stay up late playing video games, so then I don't end up sleeping very well, and then I don't get to work on time, and then I don't do a good job, so then I'm not, being able to perform at my best, then that's something that, okay, that's a weakness I need to work on. But I don't need to get it to, I am the master of self-regulation like David Goggins or something like that, if you know him. All I need to do is get it to a place where it's not getting in the way of my strengths anymore, and then I can allow it to just be okay. Like that's totally fine. But I would encourage you to really invest in your strengths and make those as good as you can. So like I said, this is just your first taste of this. There's actually tests you can do online, which are really great at learning your strengths. So there's 16 personalities is a sort of more of a personality test, but it also goes into strengths a little bit. High five strengths is another one that is, I've only done it once. I didn't think it was that good, but it's free. And there was also Strengths Finder 2.0. That's probably like the gold standard, but I think it costs like $40, but it's really, really worth it if you do it. So like I said, there's lots of strengths tests you can do online. It takes you 20 minutes and you're actually going to learn a lot about yourself, particularly if you're in high school right now or early stages in uni. A lot of people don't know this about themselves. So if you start to really get a good grasp on this now, you can keep building on that, and that's going to compound over time. But I would also say that as you're going through life, if you're doing things that come really easily to you, if you're doing things you really enjoy, that you're like, I'm really good at this, or people comment to you, wow, you're really good at this, I want you to take notice of that, because that is actually probably an indication of you being in your strengths. And try to come back to this compass that you're building in your notes and write that down. Just be like, when I was playing volleyball, people volunteered me as the leader because they thought I was a good leader. Wow, like that's such a good piece of information that 5 people just told you you were a good leader. So if you keep on, you don't even need to interpret the results right now. Just keep on writing down in this piece of paper, like all the times that you felt like something came easily, or you felt like you were really good at something, or you got comments from other people that you were really good at something. Over time, that's going to build up, and it's going to become really clear what your strengths are. Like, it won't take any sort of analysis. You'll just look at it and be like, oh, it's obvious that my strengths are this. Like, these experiences show me that. So that is your strengths. So yeah, this is what I was just talking about basically, which is your strengths are often the things that feel easy to you but hard to others. So when you get those indications, when you get times where you get that feeling, that's a good indication that you're using your strengths, and a good time to write that down. Well, here are the strengths test I was talking about. So like I said, 16 personalities. I love this. It's free. It's fun. It's got little characters. This is the Clifton Strengths Test that costs a little bit of money, but is probably the gold standard. And then VIA Character Strengths is also a free test, which is the group of words we were just looking at as well. So passions. All right. So passions, I'm not sure if you noticed, but this is actually a drawing of myself, self-portrait, because I used to be a SoundCloud rapper. Okay. So the reason we're going to talk about this in passions is that for about 3 years, I always had this desire to make music, and I would sit around. I'd be always singing. I would love to sing. I never played an instrument though. Okay, so I would always felt like expressing my musical ability, but never felt like I had the right tools to be able to do it. And I was really into rap music. And one day I had this thought of like, what if I wrote some raps? And I occasionally at parties, I'd be with my friends and we'd do little freestyle raps. We thought we were so cool. We actually thought it was really lame, but we kept doing it anyway. And I had a desire to make my own song. And I just felt this real like thing internally inside of me that I like really wanted to do this. And I chose to listen to that feeling, that sense that there was something there. I just really wanted to do it. And so I was actually going on a trip to India. And the day before I went, I quickly wrote down a song and found a beat on SoundCloud, uploaded it on SoundCloud. And the whole month that I was in India, I just listened to this thing on repeat and just like thought it was the coolest thing ever. I loved it. I kept writing raps. And for about 3 years, I ended up actually doing this, and I really loved it. It never became something. I'm guessing you've never heard of my rapper alter ego Bozo, but I just really loved this thing. And this is the value of passions, okay? Is that experience of having that time for 3 years where I was just really loving something and just being in it. And I didn't really care if it went anywhere, but I was just like enjoying this thing. And there was something inside of me telling me to do it. It taught me so much about myself. It taught me that I really love to be creative. It taught me that like when I have an idea and I'm able to bring that idea to life and actually create it in the world, that's a really fulfilling thing for me. And that's led to a lot of, me doing YouTube, doing Instagram. I really loved those things because it was me having ideas and bringing them into the world. And it also taught me, on sort of a more negative side, I don't like just sitting alone in my bedroom. And a lot of the time when I was writing raps, it was me just sitting here, being alone, writing things, listening to music online, listening to new beats. And honestly, it was just really isolating. And I'm someone that's outgoing. I want to talk to people. And it just didn't feel like it was really a true career path for me. It was never really in the mix for becoming a career path, but it was something that taught me that going into situations where I'm not able to be around people and get a sense of energy from being around people, that's probably not going to be the right path for me. Okay, so there's two types of passions. We've got push passions and we've got pull passions. So a push passion. We're going to start with a pull passion. I'm going to come back to the push passion. So a pull passion is what we just spoke about. Me wanting to make some SoundCloud raps and like upload them and just be creative. And there was this feeling inside of me where I just really wanted to do this thing. And I couldn't describe like why I wanted to do it or anything, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was great. And so that's the first time of passion. I want you to think of literally like you're being pulled towards this. Like there's something inside of you that is pulling you towards this thing. You might be obsessed with motocross or AFL or surfing or video games or whatever it is that you're obsessed with. Maybe a type of science or some sort of YouTube rabbit hole you've been on that's made you really passionate about something. But it's something where it's just like this internal sense that you can't stop thinking about this thing. You love it. You just like enjoy being around it. You enjoy doing it. That is a type of passion, which is really, really, really great to learn about yourself from. Okay. Because there's something inside you. And often when you first get passionate about something, you don't really know what that thing inside of you is that is, calling for you to do this thing. But I would recommend if you have passions, if you have this sense that you should go and do something, often if it makes sense for you to do it, I would love for you to go and just dive headfirst into this thing, whether it be making SoundCloud raps or just starting a new hobby or becoming obsessed with whatever you want to be obsessed with. Because there's something inside you that's calling to do that. And by going and doing it, it might not turn into a career necessarily, or it might not turn into, something you make money from, but it can just be something that you get a lot of fun out of and enjoyment, but also learn a lot about yourself. Like I learned that I love to create things and I don't love to just be alone by myself all the time. All right. So, go and do these things because they're going to teach you so much about yourself. And you're also going to have a lot of fun doing them as well. All right. So that's the first type of passion. And that's the more traditional type of passion. But one thing I will say about this is often people say you should do something you're passionate about. Pull passions are sometimes really hard to base a whole career off or your studies or whatever, because pull passions often burn fast and burn bright, and then they go out quickly as well. You've probably at some point in your life been really passionate about something for like a year, and then you just like, don't really care about it that much anymore. Or it's just like something you did when you were younger. Or maybe even 2 weeks, you just become obsessed with something and then you like get out of it. All right. So to do something you're passionate about, I would recommend you do something that you're sure you're going to be passionate about for, years to come. But if you're just doing something that, you're passionate about for a little bit and then you're sort of not that passionate about it afterwards, it's hard if you've built your whole career about that. So often pull passions are great to go do as hobbies and things to just learn about yourself. And maybe you could base your career around it if you end up doing this thing for years and you're like, yes, I actually do love this. I can do this every day, forever, always. But often these are more better tools to just have fun and learn a lot about yourself. And potentially the push passion is actually the better way to sort of like build a career around, because these are often things that stay with us a lot longer. So a push passion is something that I want you to think of life pushing you into a situation. Okay, you didn't know this was going to happen. You didn't plan for this. You just been pushed into a situation. So it's often when you've had an experience that you couldn't plan for. It was often like kind of negative. It was often like a challenge that you had to go through. It might have been like that you really struggled with school because you couldn't sit down and dedicate yourself to studying because you really struggled to sit still. Or it could have been, growing up, a challenge happened to you and now you're really passionate about, helping other people overcome that challenge. So often, like the reason that me and Dylan ended up getting into the coaching with boys space is because we didn't feel like we had the tools to figure out who we were when we were in high school. And so now Dylan has created a whole business about helping young boys create a better life for themselves and learn about themselves and build themselves into the people that they want to be. And that's because he's using a push passion. Okay. So he's using something that was challenging for him. He was in a situation where, he struggled at times during high school because he felt expectation and pressure to go and, be someone. And that was really hard. And he's been able to turn that challenge, that pain, into something that is now his power, because he overcome those challenges and he now wants to help other people overcome those challenges. Okay. So push passions are often things that you've overcome something, you've figured out how to overcome something. It might have been that, like the studying, not being able to sit still and study really effectively, you might have overcome that challenge and actually worked out, okay, I actually can do that now. I can sit still and study. And it's because I do this, this, and this. I set Pomodoro timers. I, set blah, blah, blah. I've got all these things that allow me to actually do that. And now that you have that skill, you've overcome that challenge, you have this power, you've turned that pain into power, potentially that could become a push passion where it's like, you could create a business around helping other people overcome those things, or create a system that you turn into a product that, so that is something that when people say you want to be passionate about the things that you do and about your work, that is something that is a bit better it's got a bit more longevity. If this is something that you've actually gone through and it was something that was a challenge and you've turned it into your power now, that's going to be something that probably stays with you for a really long time, versus these fleeting pull passions where you're just really excited about something, you can't stop thinking about it, it's amazing, and it's blah, 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 blah. Those often like go up and then go straight back down. Okay. So they're really hard to base your whole life around if that's going to be the thing. So I would love for you to try to figure out what are some of the things that you're passionate about. What are some of the things that just right now are pull passions that are like either things that you love right now or things that have been calling you, that you've always wanted to do something, but you just haven't for whatever reason. Maybe it's an invitation to actually go and do some of these things and to learn what there is to learn from these things. Maybe you learn that with like motocross, for instance, like you go and do this thing and you realize that you just love the thrill of doing exciting things and like being up in the air and a little bit of danger. But also you don't like having to maintain your motorbike and do all the finicky things in between races or whatever. And those can be, even though like those are so far from the world of work for most jobs, those could be things that you could learn about yourself that you could apply to other situations. So I would love for you to write down things that you're passionate about from a pull sense. And then with the push passions, I don't want you to necessarily go into every single dark thing that's ever happened to you in your life, but think about just like maybe one thing that was a challenge that you overcame. Maybe it was like you had a really tough time fitting in at school at times. Or maybe it was, like for me, I really struggled with reading when I was in school. I just like I didn't dedicate the time early enough that I was that up to the same level as everyone else in reading. And so then it took me a long time to catch up, and I always felt behind, but I ended up overcoming that. I literally downloaded like an Udemy course and learned how to read again. And it was something that, I overcame that thing. Okay, so I don't want you to go into every single dark thing that's ever happened, but maybe just look for one or two things that you've overcome in your life that maybe could be something that you're passionate about because of that pain that you've turned into power. So now we're going to help you sort of learn about your own passions a bit more with a few prompting questions. Okay, so just pause these as we go through them and try to answer them for yourself. So first one, you have a whole day free. What do you do? So just what do you do with a whole day? What are you going to do? You're going to sit down and play video games? Are you going to listen to music? Are you going to go for a walk? Are you going to go camping? What do you want to do? Hang out with your friends, go to the movie? How do you like to spend your time, and what are the things and hobbies and activities that you want to fill your day with, right? What do you love to consume content about? So when you're on TikTok or on YouTube, when you're on Instagram, no one consumes content on Facebook, so let's not kid ourselves. TV, books, movies, all these things. Like, what are topics? What are themes? What are the things that you just love to consume all day? So I know that I've gone down YouTube rabbit holes of all these different like conspiracies and stuff like that. And I love learning about interesting, thought-provoking things because curiosity is a really high strength of mine. So I love, understanding things or just like learning about new information, even if it's not real and I know that it's fake, but I just like find the curiosity, like it's enjoyable for me. So next question. When do you get into flow? So flow is a really interesting sort of topic. And if you don't know what it is, essentially flow is when you're doing something and you're really focused and you're working on it with all your attention, and it just feels like time sort of slows down. So you might have had this experience in sport where you're just like absolutely killing it one day, and it just feels like everyone else is moving in slow motion and you're just like, everything's working, your brain. It often happens when you're playing video games. Like, video games are specifically often designed to help you get into flow. So because flow is an incredibly like enjoyable experience, being in flow. So often in video games, you get into flow because you just like, when you sit down and play video games and literally 6 hours passes and it feels like it's been 2 hours, you look at the time, it's like 2 a.m. and you're like, whoa, how did that happen? So that experience of flow, but I want you to try to think of outside of the context of video games, because for most of you, being a professional video gamer is not going to be your direction. By the way, not an enjoyable life probably for most people. But I want you to think of, what are some contexts outside of that? It might be reading, it might be cooking, it might be surfing, it might be a sport that you play. But try to think of, when does time just feel like it passes really quick and you're just like so into what you're doing? Next, what is a challenge you've experienced that is important to you? So that's sort of what we were talking about before, the push passion. What's something you've overcome that you've learned to overcome that challenge that maybe you would be passionate about? All right, so pause at each of those different times to make sure you filled all those out. And once you've got those answers there, again, we're just going to pile them into your passions category. Okay, so these are things that you're passionate about. Get down all your pull passions, get down all your push passions. And then as you go into life, try to notice when you become passionate about something. Try to notice when you have a challenge that you overcome it, and write these things down. And over time, like I said, these are going to be things that you're going to learn more and more about yourself. And when a job or a educational opportunity comes up, knowing what things typically make you passionate about, or you typically get passionate about, is going to be really valuable, because you'll know, straight away, oh, that's something I could I could sink my teeth into. That's going to be something that I'd really love, because and you've been documenting, these are the types of things I typically seem to enjoy. All right. And finally, skills. Okay. So this is the shorter of the three, but this is just a prompt for you to think about the fact that skills are the thing that brings your strengths and passions to life. Okay. If you don't have the skills to actually play the guitar, but you would love to play the guitar and you think you have the raw potential for it, then you can't play the guitar. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sure there's someone that's just picked up a guitar and played it from scratch before, but you're probably not that person. So you need to dedicate your time to actually building the skills enough for you to actually do the things that are going to allow your strengths and your passions to be on show. Okay. So if I wanted to be a CEO of a company, I might have the raw talents and skills and passion to do that. But I tell you what, I'm a long way from being a CEO because I haven't worked through so many. I'm going to have to do years and years and years of work before I really have the skills to be able to deal with all the situations that would come up that I would need to know how to deal with. All right. So your skills is the door, the key to the door that will allow you to do the things that you want to do. What else have I got here? So I want you to think about what are the skills you have. You probably have learned some skills at school. You probably learned some skills just in your life. But again, write down new heading. What are the skills that you feel like you have? And they don't all have to be things that you've learned at a school, for instance. Like, I have good problem solving skills, I think. I am a good speaker. I've never had full training in like speaking in front of a crowd, but I know that like I'm pretty good at that because I've done productions at school and I've done some stuff in some of my jobs that even though I haven't received specific training, I'm like, that's something I can do. So think of the skills that you have and try to write them down so that you know these are the types of things that I can do and I have access to. And these are the gaps where, okay, I know I'm passionate about this and I've got my strengths in this. And that means I would love to do this for my study, but I don't have the skills in this space. So I'm going to have to learn them. Okay. So skills is that final thing where it's just, that is the key to get you to where you want to be. So we're going to finish with a quote: hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Okay, so that is sort of around that skills thing. So if you've got raw talent in your strengths and you've got passions, but you don't have the hard work to actually build the skills to allow you to do the things that you want to do, to be in that genius zone, that zone where you're just like on fire, then you're not going to be able to do it. Okay, so it's your prompt to think about what are the skills you want to learn to allow you to be at your best. Exactly. Cool. So little reflection, just like before we go, what was your biggest learning today? What skills would you like to build? This was session 1 of the Purpose and Direction course. There's going to be a few more videos coming up. So this was specifically talking about genius. We're going to jump into values next. So I'll see you there.